Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, both here in person and over 100 online, as we launch a really special initiative here at SCSP in development with Coursera, our new course, AI and National Security, integrating artificial intelligence in public sector missions. I'm Nandita Balakrishnan. I'm a Director of Intelligence here at SCSP, and we are just so honored to have you here. Today, you're going to see our new course, which is a really special initiative here. You're going to see why we launched this course, how it was built, why we think it's so important, as well as an opportunity for you both to see parts of the course and those of you in person to demo the course yourself at the conclusion of today's event. So to kick us off, I'd like to introduce Ylli, SCSP CEO. Thank you.
Thanks, Nandita. Thank you so much for all the hard work you have done in really getting us to this point. Truly appreciate it. Please, a round of applause for Nandita. Just quickly, because I'm really looking forward to the conversation we have here, and we're so honored to have General Eifler here really joining us from the Army G1 and our partners from Corsera, both here and back. This was a partnership that was launched a month ago, and we had one idea in mind. We wanted to do something to help our civilians and military people, both in federal government and outside of government, at state and federal level, really understand how they can utilize AI for their daily job. This is not a course about what AI is, how do you build an AI model, but this is for many of us that have spent years in the government. How do you utilize these models to do your job faster, better, and more efficiency? And so that's the purpose of the course we're launching with Coursera. That's number one priority. The second priority for us was really, I believe the future belongs to the nation that adopt this technology faster. And our mission as SCSP is really to ensure that we stay and win this competition against China. And so I believe that whoever wins the adoption phase between us and the end of this decade really will stay and set the rules of the road for the rest of the century. And I think we owe it to our men and women in uniform, to the civilians that spend daily jobs there, in providing them with capabilities and tools to adopt this particular technology so they can do faster and better things. So that was our purpose in really launching this course with Coursera. We live in Washington area, and I think many of us have spent hours, if not months, building documents that now take seconds. We don't have to be that way anymore. And I believe that human-machine teaming really will set the standard for the next 5 to 7 years. And I think the nation that adopts it faster, I cannot underscore more, will win this technology competition. So that's the purpose of this course. When we were thinking about designing this course and partnering, we could not think of a better partner than Coursera. In 2018, when I started my journey into AI, the first course I took was Coursera. It was Andrew Ng's class, legendary Andrew Ng's, which helped me understand why AI and what AI is. This has happened at the same time when Kai-Fu Lee wrote the famous book, AI Superpowers, that really shook our world, and it showed cases that we are in a serious competition with a country like China. And so we started talking to Coursera, to Sam. I don't know, Sam is, where's Sam? Sam, and we met many times, and we developed and designed this course with two ideas in mind. Number one is we wanted to showcase it to you the examples of how AI was successfully adopted in Department of Defense and the intelligence community. So we have two cases, the Project Maven that General Groen here worked on really closely when he was at Jake. Thank you, sir, for your service. And then the open source intelligence adopted by intelligence community. And then we also offer examples of how you can utilize it for your daily job. But before we show you the demo, I really want to thank everybody for being here. Again, to our partners in Coursera. General Eifler, I know you're busy, so thank you for taking your time out of the building to come and really demonstrate how powerful this adoption is for the future of men and women in uniform. And again, to my SCSP team for getting here. I never thought we're going to be at the place we're going to say like we're launching a course, but here we are, we're launching a course. And I really hope that you can spread the word, you can use it, you can see it, and provide us with feedback, criticism, anything you think will make this course better. So again, Nandita, thank you so much. Where are you? Thank you so much for really spearheading this effort, and Ryan and everybody else on our team. And please enjoy the day, enjoy the conversation. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. And we'd like to also welcome Marni Stein, Coursera's Chief Content Officer, who is our welcome guest here. If you'd like to speak and take a few words.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm the Chief Content Officer Coursera. I'm super happy to be here. Big congratulations to the team here on the development of this course, which is not only incredibly timely, but it's beautifully designed to not only give a great overview of how Gen AI is impacting the space of the work that you all do, in government agencies and national security, but also it gets really personal in terms of how you, in your role with your job tasks and your work products, how you can use it across several different tools to do your work faster, better, and then how you can work as a change agent in the organizations where you're operating to create basically playbooks for others to use these tools effectively as well. So it's a really practical, wonderful course. I hope you'll check it out. And we are super proud to be representing it at Coursera on our open platform for learners everywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ylli. Well, it is great to be here. I really appreciate it. And there's a couple of things I gotta start off by saying. So by my field, my trade, right now I'm the Army G1, which is in charge of, if you're not familiar with, all the human resources of the Army, both military and civilian. And if you would have told me 30 years ago that I would have been the Army G1, I would have laughed. I had a heart attack or something. But likewise, if you had told my science teacher, if my high school science teacher was alive, if he is, if he's watching, he's going to be dead because he's not going to realize that Eifler, what is he doing there? He's obviously at the wrong place. But yeah, and I think that's par for the course. Quite honestly, the AI industry, the AI technologies, the capabilities are really nascent stages in our Army and our military, and we're just tapping into like what we didn't know. And we still don't know what we don't know. And so we're constantly looking at ourselves to figure out, as Ylli mentioned earlier, like this is changing the character of warfare. And if we don't adapt, as he stated so eloquently, if we don't adapt, we will be way behind. And we don't want to find out what that looks like. We, America, are not ready for that. And we don't want to experience that. So we have to keep up. One of our 4 focus areas in the Army is constant transformation. Does that sound familiar? That's exactly what we're talking about with this capability. We always have to adapt, we have to improvise, we have to be flexible, and not only in how we fight as a war fighting, but how we structure our forces, how we organize. And so even though in the nascent stages right now of AI in the military, and let's just say the Army for right now, it will be ubiquitous over time. There's no doubt about it. In every aspect of the Army, not just warfighting, planning, but in the personnel world. So right now, so what we're doing to get after that, like we have to start building a workforce that is capable, which is great about this free opportunity for people to do. But so what we're doing is we're taking some of the best and brightest of our military. We're partnering with some Carnegie Mellon University. They'll go through there, get a master's in artificial intelligence, and work about 4 years on this program development team outside of Pittsburgh. And what they've been doing in the last few years is working on problem sets, finding solutions, working with partners in industry to solve some of these, next generation warfare type things. So that we're, at least testing, experimenting, and figuring things out. You've heard probably things like Project Maven, at least you'll talk about in the course. Project Convergence, actually Project Convergence number 5 is going on. We'll start this month again and next month out at Fort Irwin, where we're actually testing this, taking theories, taking concepts, and putting them into use. That we will need to do in the future. And just imagine, you've probably heard some statistics on these things, but things that would take hours of analysis, whether it was intelligence or gathering information and different information and data sets coming in, and analysts poring over this stuff for days and weeks and trying to figure out, like, anticipate moves of your adversary, and then developing a plan around that. And then, exponentially reducing that time to minutes and seconds. And then, like I used to say, is always have a human that's making the big decisions. And I think we're doing that. And then even the smaller decisions that are like sort of routine, why can't someone else make that? We're doing the same thing in our personnel world. Like, we'll come together and we'll spend 3 or 4 weeks on a promotion board. We get all these files and all this data combing through like we were back in the 20th century with papers and inboxes. Actually, some of it's on a computer, so but you're going through files and stuff, and guess what happens after about 2 days? Your mental acuity. Where's that go? And so how do you keep it fair? How do you keep things going? And so we're looking at doing, so you could cut that with obviously some of our technologies, machine learning that we're using. You could cut that down for like maybe a couple days, that, hey, I just need you guys to come and look at these files here because all these were, weeded out or whatever based on the, the parameters that we set forth. So we're really looking at things like that. So if you start, I think part of our challenge is we don't know what it can do. So we have to always bring in some experts that can look at what we're doing and say, wow, that's easy. I could just do that. And that's where we have to figure out a better way. As we were talking before we got in here, our acquisition process is very difficult. And if an agency wanted to give us this free artificial intelligence software or anything, it would be very difficult for the military to receive. And that's America. And we've got to fix that because we're all in it together, right? We're all in this future. We in the military, and a lot of you that have been in know that we don't want war. We want to deter war. And we have to, to deter war, you have to show a capability, show where you're at, and be a viable solution. That's what we want to do. But if you're behind and you're just like a paper tiger, you don't want to be in those roles. We saw, everybody thought Russia was 10 foot tall. All right? I don't know if they're so tall as people thought after the last couple of years. But what we need to do is not wait and react. We need to be actively involved, proactively involved, and we are with developing our workforce, developing things that we do at Army Futures Command with General Rainey out there and his team, which is amazing work, but then get it, as we talked about, faster, quicker. Because if we're going to be remaining a relevant force in the future, as we call large-scale combat operations, we have to be engaged on this. And we have to break down bureaucratic processes. We have to break down some things that are obstacles and just by our brute force in some cases get this stuff done because our nation needs it, quite honestly. And it's not just in the military, it's across the board. And we have got adversaries that are trying to do things to undermine our efforts in that. And we've got to do a better job staying on top of that. So that's really what I wanted to hit on. And like I said earlier, I'm not an expert in AI. I'm not a data analyst. I'm not a software engineer, but we're making those in the Army. We're going to have software engineers specialties, or MOSs as we call them. We're going to have robotics specialties. We're going to have AI. So we even, this Army, I'm an infantry knuckle dragger, right? So we're having things that we never thought we would do. And to one of my points that I always try to emphasize wherever I go, if you're a leader, you better be learning. When you're through learning, you're through. And it doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're at the squad level or at the general officer level. If you think you know it all, you're wrong. And so this just is another way of saying, well, that AI stuff, put it to you better get on board and figure this stuff out, because otherwise you're going to go the way of the fax machine. You have to be learning constantly and growing in this, and this is not a better subject to do that because it is fascinating and it'll change the way how we fight in the future. So thanks for having us here.
Thank you so much. And now we are really excited to show you a demo of the course, and I'll actually invite our 3 speakers to get off the stage so they get to enjoy the rest of the experience.
There. I'm Jack Shanahan.
I'm PJ Maykish.
I'm Nandita Balakrishnan.
I'm Diana Gelhaus.
I'm Ylli Bayraktar, and welcome to our course on AI for National Security. We created this course to help employees at the federal or state level utilize the latest tools to achieve their mission.
Artificial intelligence is revolutionizing the business of intelligence.
This module is about leveraging AI tools to advance organizational goals.
That's when I saw how these really hard problems are really simple if you can just do software.
What I want to offer today are 2 basic ways you might stay ahead of the trends of AI.
I'm excited to show you how an LLM can help you transform your documents.
Imagine you're stuck looking at a blank sheet of paper or a screen and thinking, what's next? This is where generative AI can really help.
Pretty soon, everyone has to know how to use prompting, but we have to go beyond that if we want to remain competitive and stay on top of the things that are newly possible.
Now, to really appreciate the stakes of this competition, it is useful to imagine what an alternative future may look like, one in which China can turn off the technological tap.
Where is America in this? Well behind.
You can be a change agent to advance your organization and mission.
Thank you for joining us on this journey on AI and national security, integrating artificial intelligence into public sector missions.
With AI, you'll be even more powerful and able to do even more. And I hope this course will help you gain the tools you need to get there.
Hi everyone, I'm Colleen Malloy from Corsera. I'm an account manager here responsible for our partnership with SCSP. I don't have a background in defense or in military. I actually spent most of my career in ed tech and e-learning, helping colleges and universities to put first courses, even syllabi back in the day, and fully online degree programs online. So I'm excited to talk to you about this course today. I'm on our Coursera for Government team, and I spend most of my days talking with government leaders about how to upskill their employees. And right now, the main focus is how to make sure they get the AI skills that they need to stay competitive, to be more effective, and all of the things that you heard from the panel today. What stood out to me in this course was the target audience. It's really focused on the public workforce, the public sector workforce, and that might be the federal, the state, the local, all that are being impacted. It's also really focused on, it had a particular level in mind, those mid-level career managers or employees who are going to be the future. They're going to be the leaders of the future. And they're the ones who may not have access to the resources, to the skilling needs that they have. But this is a great course for them to get exposed to this in a short period of time. What stood out to me in the course is the variety of ways that the information is shared with you. So you'll see that there's videos, there's exercises that are very practical. There's graded assessments and applications that you can use in your daily work. So I think, as we've heard, it's really important to take a look at this course, see how that you and your colleagues could take it, bring it back to the daily flow of your work, and become a change agent within your organizations. I'm going to talk to you about the course itself. So this is the landing page where you'll go, and we can help you here today to sign up and enroll. The course is a practical 3 to 5 hours course from start to finish, depending. It's self-paced, so it depends on your timing, but it's really targeted at folks who are very busy, and we want to make it very practical and easy for you to leverage it. The course has 4 modules, so I'll just go into the first module so that you can see. The module has 3 sections in the first module. It starts out with the importance of AI and national security, real-world applications of AI and national security, and imagining the possible of AI. At all times, you'll be able to see the course material on the left panel and be able to move through some of the other sections of the course. The course starts out with a great video and introduction from Ylli, where he's actually speaking from his own experience of how long it took for him in previous roles to write a memo to the Secretary of Defense, and how practically and how quickly and the quality of the work that came out with leveraging AI for this. So this is a great example right here within the video. It's an introduction as well as a demonstration. I wanted to show you how Coursera is actually leveraging AI within our course. So not only are we leading the way in terms of the content that we're bringing in AI, but we're leveraging it within the platform as well. So you'll see over here that there's a Coursera coach that can interact with you during the course. So for example, you could, during this video, say, how does this apply to my work? So I'll ask, here we can ask it anything. How would this apply to my role as a policy analyst? Be thinking and quickly come back and give us a sense of how this could help us within the course, how this can help me within my role. And throughout the course, you can interact with the coach and continue to ask more questions. The coach has been trained on Coursera pedagogy, but also on the context of the course itself. If we move into the next section, this is where you'll start to see the fireside chat, where Ylli is engaged with Dr. Eric Schmidt and Dr. Andrew Ng, both leaders and pioneers in national security and AI. So this is a great discussion. You'll be able to see both of them. As you walk through the content of the course, you'll be able to see both videos as well as transcripts. You can see, you can take notes, you can download this information, you can access this from your mobile device as well. As we move into the case studies, we hear from William Usher on a case study of open source intelligence operations and how it's revolutionizing the business of intelligence. Then we move on to Project Maven. So Lieutenant General Jack Shanahan, as you heard in the video, he was leading this Project Maven, which really laid the groundwork for the innovation and opportunities that there are today based on the work that he has done. The next section, you hear from Dr. PJ Maykish, who you'll be hearing from on the panel. He really paints the picture of the future and how important it is and easy it is for you to stay ahead and make sure you're understanding where things are trending and where they'll go. As we move into the next module, it gets more practical, and you'll hear from a number of different leaders in practical applications, lingo to make sure you're understanding that, exposure to the different models that are available to you, but then also different ways that you can use each of them. So first, you'll hear from Chris Kraft, who we have in the audience today, Deputy Chief Technology Officer of AI and Emerging Technology with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. What impressed me here was just the way that he brought so many great examples of how you can use this in your day-to-day work, the efficiencies gained, but also the opportunities that exist because of spending less time on those menial tasks with the help of some of these tools. There's some great resources like applying do's and don'ts here. Sorry, of course something's going to happen when you're in the middle of a demo. But this is a great list of things that professionals in this space should be thinking about in terms of do's and don'ts with LLMs within the workplace. Nandita brings a great demonstration here as well, and talks really practically about how it can help improve your research, how it can improve the documents, how it can help you analyze data, visualize data, and produce more polished examples in your work in a more efficient and quick way. This is a great example of some of the engaging assessments that are here. This is the opportunity to use prompt engineering to create a trip report. And I just wanted to point out that you also could leverage Coach to help you before you take this assessment. So this is a great example where Coach could help practice and start to engage with you over here on examples before you actually apply that in your assessment. They've put together some great do-it-yourself exercises that apply to multiple workflows within each of the different agencies. So you can take a look at this and see, based on your role, which of these exercises would apply, and apply it then within your agency, within your role, within your work stream. And then once you've finished, you'll be able to complete the assessment. As we wrap up in Module 4, this is where you're not only applying it to yourself, but you're trying to use it within your agency. How can you be a change agent within your agency and create a playbook? So this helps you understand the current AI adoption within your agency, but then what tools can you leverage to be able to advance the AI adoption within your agency? So you'll actually have opportunity to have access to information from Andrew Ng on his best practices, on creating a playbook within the organization, so looking from outside of the federal government as well as inside, with a Gen AI playbook from DHS, and then some exercises to help you put this into action. Throughout, you'll have access to discussion forums to be able to engage with peers who are also learners within the course. You'll be able to create posts or engage with posts that exist already. So hopefully this has been helpful to give you a sense of what the experience will be like, how practical and useful it will be in your everyday work. And please enroll today, come ask us for help after the panel, and tell your peers about it as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colleen. It's my honor to welcome Dr. PJ Maykish, Senior Advisor here at SCSP, as well as Sam Combs, Director for North America Public Sector. The reason I invited you both to this panel is I think you have extensive experience both in national security and in education, and have both had experience working directly with this course. I would like them to introduce themselves and tell their story, but I'm going to do so in my first question, which is reflecting on your time working in national security in the military. Can you share a particular experience or lesson you learned that really spoke to the imperative of integrating emerging tech into national security? And I'm going to start with PJ.
Nandita, thank you so much. And everybody, good afternoon, or morning, I should say. Welcome, and thank you for being here, distinguished guests. So when I think about emerging technologies, when it injected in the world, like when I was a kid, I used to borrow my mother's car and go listen to Asimov lecture at Princeton about the brain and AI. And so I was into it, but it was not really until I saw it applied at war that I realized that something new had come, that this was something like a general purpose technology. I never imagined we would ever have a national commission on it. I never imagined we would ever devote a project to it. But I think the first time that I really saw it at play was during a war we shouldn't think too much about. It was the ISIS war. And this is just as a reminder for those who aren't around it deeply. This was a caliphate was declared in the Middle East. This happened on June of 2014, June 28th. A group had taken large swaths of northern Iraq, northern Syria. Estimates were about 50,000 human beings. Some have estimated 75,000 human beings, about a core and a half of fighters on the ground. What happened was a 4.5-year war that went on there, but in the middle of the war, we found an application called Live Universal Awareness Maps. It was created in Ukraine, And what it did is created a colorized map of who held territory. So you could look at it and see, okay, these are held by Syrian forces. Okay, these are held by Russian forces. This is ungoverned space. It's literally gray. No one owns this territory. But this is where ISIS is. And for 2 years of my life, 730 days, I would keep that live map next to our top secret common operating picture. And there were times that it would shock you with how good it was. And so for 2 years, I just developed this idea like there's gotta be AI in the system. There's no way humans are doing this. And so later, I found the author of this. It was a system designed to protect Ukrainians from disinformation and to create a gauntlet of zero trust AI bypasses to check the veracity of the source, whether it jives with history, whether you could geo-rectify this piece of information to a map, all autonomously, and then it would post it. And so it was there after we were involved in the third offset time that I thought like, okay, it's here, it's in war, it might be better than what I have. And that was my wake up to the importance of integrating it. Yeah.
Sam, love you to jump in here.
It's a tough act to follow, but I'll do my best here. And I actually remember, June of 2014 being called to the JOC talking about ISIS like this takeover across the country.
Were you at AFSOC?
I was. Yeah, I'm prior military, so I have the opportunity now to lead the public sector team at Corsera, but spent about 8 years active duty as an intelligence officer in the Air Force. I'll provide a similar experience or a similar story that's maybe a bit more tactical, tied to a workforce challenge that really reminds me a lot about what this course I think is really aiming to solve for. But at my time, when I was in Ohio, I was stationed at Wright-Patterson, and I was in an organization. We did global intelligence collection operations, and so we've been doing this for a handful of years. One of the things that the unit did really, really well was we collected a tremendous amount of information about the operations we were conducting, all of the atmospherics, where we were going, what we were doing, how we were collecting the information, all of the details you would want to understand about why we did what we did and how we did it. And we had all of this data. It was structured, it was compiled, and we started to realize, we're sitting on a gold mine here that we can leverage to inform and shape what future collection operations could and should look like. So we had the vision for this to solve this challenge. We had the data that was structured and available. We had a commander that had the intent and the desire to solve this problem. The thing we didn't have was we didn't have a data scientist on the staff. We didn't have the ability to create a new billet. We didn't have budget to bring in a contractor. And so we were faced with this fairly benign, but also very significant workforce challenge of how do we actually operationalize this data in a way that's compelling and meaningful. We had airmen, NCOs, literally going to the base library, checking out books on Python and SQL, trying to figure out how to solve this problem on their own. And so what I started to realize was that, yes, this could be solved through technology. It could be solved through a new tool. But at the most foundational level, it was ultimately a workforce challenge. It was a talent challenge. It was making sure that we had the right people in the right place with the right skills that could solve the problems that we needed at a time and a place and a speed that was operationally relevant. So a bit of a precursor to the course and the conversation, but it was for me, as I think about why we do what we do at Corsera, why this course is so impactful, so much of technology integration, the most foundational component of that being successful is, do we have the talent equation solved?
Jumping off on that exact point, you both have been attached to this course in very different ways. PJ is a course instructor. Of course, Sam has worked closely in the development of this course. So let's speak to actually why it is you're excited about this course and why right now is a crucial time for such a course to be launching.
You want me to jump in?
Yeah,
okay.
Start with you, Sam.
So I think there's a few things. One, and this is, one of the opportunities that we have is we work alongside not only federal government agencies across government, but also with state and local governments. And what you can imagine is, as Colleen alluded to and mentioned, the past 18 months, the overwhelming focus of our conversations has been with organizations that have been coming to us saying, how do we upskill and prepare our workforce around AI? Over the past 6 to 12 months, though, there's been an evolution of that question where it's gone from high level awareness, organizations coming to us saying, we want to build literacy across our workforce. So there's an awareness of what is AI, what are some of the ethical and security concerns. And it's now moved over the past 6 to 12 months to focus much more on application. How do we go from now awareness, I understand what this technology is and isn't, to how do I apply it in my organization and to my role? So I think that's the first piece that really makes this moment particularly unique for this course to launch, and the focus that SCSP has placed on the course is it bridges the gap not only around between awareness, but also to then how do we apply what we're learning from this course into use cases that are relevant operationally for government organizations. And so awareness to application, I think, is the first piece. The second piece, and I mean, it's fairly obvious, but I think it's worth mentioning. When I think about the talent challenge facing the government today, in many cases, it's a pacing challenge. When we think about upskilling and reskilling the workforce, we're not talking about a static domain. We're not talking about something that has a technology that will no longer evolve. We're talking about a technology that is evolving faster than anything we've ever experienced. And so when I think about this moment for the course, it's also, we don't have time. I think one of the themes from the course is the future is already here. And so, launching this course now, making this available broadly in the way that SCSP is doing, responds in a very compelling way, I think, to that pacing challenge that government is facing.
I think this course is so important, just going back to something that Ylli said when we opened, that there is a diffusion game going on. It's an adoption game. And if we take a step back, this adoption game is so big that it's tethered to a general purpose technology, which means a technology that subtends most functions of society, therefore it's going to touch most aspects of work. When we think about the history of general purpose technologies, just to give a sense, like we're talking about the machine age. And when the machine age begins, it goes all throughout public sector activity. If you think about the military and machine warfare, electricity is a general purpose technology. And in the AI Commission's report, we used electricity as the analogy for AI. It's going to be so generally useful, it's going to touch most aspects of society. Therefore, if it's a GPT, and if there is an adoption game, then whatever part we can play in speeding that adoption is strategic. It's like a grand strategic thing. I think General Eifler's comments about how much the Army is doing to diffuse and adopt and adapt is inspiring. General Groen led like an insurgency in the Pentagon. A long time ago, we were doing something called the Third Office. It was 10 years ago, trying to say AI is going to change warfare. But it is a speed game. We are up against a rival that had a national plan to diffuse this technology back in 2017. So we were being out-organized. This course is one small step in our offering to make sure that we get nose authority on getting organized as a public sector. I think it's that important, and that's why I think it's so key. It's a technology. It's never going to go away. It's like the beginning of forever.
Another description both of you separately in conversation have used to describe this technology with me is that it's scalable, stackable, and specific. And in fact, PJ, you bring up this point in your video in the course. Can you explain what you mean by that and why that really is driving the urgency that we need to see in workforce upskilling?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the fact, let's break it down to, let's say, the public sector worker that might take this course. But before we do that, when these general purpose technologies come to the earth, they never go away. So they stick. And they combine. So a modern robot is at once a machine that's electrified, it has autonomous behavior, it's digitized, and now it's intelligentized, it's connected to AI. So those are 5 general purpose technologies right there, so they tend to combine. I think breaking it down for the worker, the idea is that it can be combined with anything they're doing, which I think the course is going to be really cool at. And then it's scalable in the sense of there's sort of unlimited opportunity to think about how it might be used. And so you just might think about any worker in the intelligence community, in their cubicle, where they're doing the nation's work, back in the Pentagon, you know that they could work on steroids, right? And you know that would give the nation an advantage. And so I think that that's the idea of how it creates this opportunity. And it's scalable in so many ways, you can't imagine it. You just have to give people the skills.
Yeah, I think approaching this the same question just from a slightly different angle, thinking about it from training programs in government. I'm drawing on experience both being in government and now sitting at Corsera. One of the things that I've often seen across the DoD, across federal government, is when thinking about training on new technologies, government leaders were often given two imperfect choices. One option was we'll provide training that's highly customized, highly specific, but it's not scalable. We'll be able to deploy that towards maybe dozens of people at a time in an in-person setting. And then the other option could be we'll deploy training that's highly scalable and available broadly across an organization, but it lacks specificity. It's not contextualized to a government use case. It's not contextualized in an operationally relevant way. When I think about AI, it demands that we solve for both. It demands that we make something that is scalable, because the challenge isn't isolated to only certain pockets of government. It's a challenge that is across the entire government. It's across the entire workforce. So we need to deploy a training solution and a training capability, a course like the one through SCSP, that can be made broadly available, but also doesn't lack specificity and contextualization to government use cases, to public sector missions, so that when someone is stepping into that training scenario, they can understand how this technology, how its capabilities applies to them in their organization, in their role. And as Colleen walked through the different modules, you can see that it starts with the imperative, but then it quickly moves from imperative to use case, and moves from use case to application inside of your organization, and then from application to diffusion, right? Diffusing innovation across the organization to make it broadly applicable. And so that interplay between specificity and scale is one that we've heard from government organizations of saying, I can no longer be forced to choose between the two. I need to have a solution, I need to have a capability, I need to have a course that allows me to do both at the same time to solve this challenge.
Absolutely, and I'd actually like to jump in here just quickly to make that point. One of the key challenges of making any kind of course, specifically one that ties AI to national security, is this is a technology that is constantly evolving. The course material that we have today is going to have to change naturally in the next year, and especially towards AGI. So one thing I'd love to emphasize is we really want our learners to give us feedback in the context of taking this course with an eye towards what you're going to constantly need if you were to take this course a year from now. And we do see this as an evolving project. So what we're launching today is the March 11th version, but we do see this as something that we're going to have to change over time. And we'd love that feedback, and we want to know that this is the course today, but this is a work in progress for us. And it's a challenge that we've taken on, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. So one thing I also just really love about this course is that it's a combination between the work of Coursera and SCSP, where it's a private sector partnership to meet a public sector need. But the public sector part of that is still equally and crucially important. So I'd love your thoughts on sort of, given your experience in working in both sector, how would you talk about the collaboration that is needed between government, private sector, even academia, in order to foster a workforce that is going to be AI ready?
Yeah, I mean, I would maybe start with drawing on the general's comments. When he mentioned that this is not a DoD problem, this is not a government problem, this is a challenge for the country. This is a challenge that requires a whole of nation approach, and I think this partnership and the work that SCSP is leading is emblematic of that. It's not on any single organization to help solve for this. It's a combination of organizations coming together, both private sector, nonprofit, public sector, that can bring a solution, can bring a capability, can bring a course to bear that can address the challenge in a really unique way. But I think the power of this, of what's being launched today, the uniqueness of it is the fact that it's done in concert with and coordination with multiple organizations responding to a specific requirement within the public sector, and is also drawing on public sector expertise, both current and past, to inform what the course looks like.
I think if you think about your best times in national service, it's when there's a form of unity and a togetherness in the public and the private sector of coming together to do something. It puts the U in USA. It feels very powerful. There's a lot of alignment, a lot of unity. So I think what I'm just trying to say is that public-private activities tend to be us at our best. When I think about even Apollo, I think it's not well known that the last 3 years, according to the official history, 81% of everything that was achieved was on contract with the private sector. It was an extraordinarily public-private achievement. And that's just, I'm using a well-known example to think about us at our best. Us at our best is when you come together this way. When I was in command of this Air Operations Center that I was describing up front before during the ISIS war, Defense Innovation Unit Experimental brought in a company called Pivotal Labs, and we began to turn the Air Operations Center into a software factory. We had one activity. I had 352 functions of war, air war, and one of those functions had 10,000 planning variables a day that were necked out by 5 human beings every day. It was not fun. And so we were like, hey, why don't we create an app for that? But who's going to do that? And the only way that happened was with public-private partnership, right? So, here in this case, Ylli, with Eric's liberty to give us the liberty to actually help government, and Ylli's leadership to think, why not us? We were talking about the importance of diffusion. we were talking about the fact that like when Ylli started using these apps, we were like, it's like work on steroids, you know? Imagine if every single public sector worker felt like they were on steroids. Positive use of the drug, not a bad use. And you know, what would that be like? And then Ylli was like, why not us? And then Corsera came into the plan. And so for the whole Corsera team here, you know, it's not possible without that private actor, right? So I just think of public-private partnership from Apollo down to this as us at our best. And it's usually what we feel the best about and has the most impact.
I have one last question for you before I will open it up to the audience for our panelists and as well about from our demos, Colleen, to talk about the course. And that is just, what are you most excited about when it comes to this course? And what's your general advice for how people can upskill themselves in technologies that can often feel scary if you have no exposure to them prior?
Yeah, I can start. So I mean, I think the two things that, and it goes back to a comment that PJ made about the diffusion of innovation, but there's two things when I think about this course that I'm really excited about, I'm really optimistic about. You know, the first, and it actually is drawn on a conversation that we had at the AI Plus Careers event a few months ago. During that conversation that SCSP hosted, there was a question that came up that prompted a fairly interesting discussion towards the end of the event, where a person who was part of their AI task force at their department and government asked, you know, where should we start? We want to start implementing AI and integrating it into some of our workflows. But as an AI council, as an AI task force, we're just struggling to figure out, you know, what's the right use case to begin with? Where do we actually start implementing this inside of our organization? And what I think is great about this course is it creates an answer, or starts to create an answer for that in two ways. The first is you can take a top-down approach where it has this use case inventory. It gives you a starting place to think about ground that's already been covered across the public sector that could be high probability wins as you start thinking about ways to deploy the technology inside of your department. What I would say I'm even more excited about, though, is a bottoms-up approach, is now taking this course and putting it into the hands of individuals across public sector departments, whether it's at the state level, the federal level, and equipping individuals that are in the field with the skills they need to think about, how do I actually use this technology in a way that solves the problems I have on a daily basis? And rather than thinking about AI integration and innovation from a top-down approach, think about it from a bottoms-up, where people are empowered to solve the problems that are most meaningful for them in their workflow. And I think it starts with this type of course, this type of training.
One thing I'm most excited about is whoever's taking computer-based training knows that it can be lame. So one thing that we really try to do is make this not lame. And I think that we all really prided ourselves on making something that I could, in good conscience, suggest that someone watches for 2 hours, and that they will be better. They will be, you know, more super empowered with it. The second thing is there are certain things that are already here right now in AI that I would regard as dominant designs, meaning they're here now and they're unlikely to go away. And I'll just use this example. Most of you probably Google something every day. So let's just call this search. You might go a day without using search, but I've actually been checking myself. I haven't gone a lot of days without searching something. Search is a dominant design. You don't walk around thinking like, oh, I need the next best version of search. I can't wait till Google releases version 1000 for search, right? It's just all happening behind the scenes because it's a dominant design. Ylli demos something that I am almost certain is going to be a dominant design, which is the deep research function of these models. If that's the only thing people get out of this course, because I still go when I speak, I'm like, how many people use deep research? And I'm not getting a lot of hands, right? So if like every hand in the Pentagon goes up like, I use deep research, that is going to be an amazing power. It's a dominant design. It is unlikely to change. The ability of these systems to do what is like human-like research. I mean, give you an example. I just asked it recently, name every audacious, I'm a little bit into stretch goals. So I was like, name every audacious technology program America ever did. How much did it cost? How much does it cost in today's dollars? Here's the hard one. What was the macroeconomic impact to the US economy? So now you're asking it to do econometrics. I prompt it to give me your best citations. If you do math, show me the math. And it says, here's my research agenda. Am I good, boss? And I'm like, tweak, tweak, you're good. And then you're off to the races. And it's like, great, you can go do work. I'll be right back. That is not going away. Deep research in all its forms is not going away. It's a dominant thing. So if this course just gives that gift, So I'm telling you right here, right now, in this course, there's already some dominant design things that are just not going to go away and people need to do yesterday.
Thank you so much. We're going to open it up to a few questions, both to our panelists and about the demo for the course itself. Yes, and I think we're waiting for a mic. And please introduce yourself. Oh, thank you, PJ.
You bet.
Thank you. This is Sayed Kaymakçı. I work in career advising and workforce development. My question is, it has two parts. It's about data security, also in individual versus institutional adaptation. So this course looks like it's geared towards individuals. Well, even if we upscale them, if the institution doesn't adapt, they can't use it because it's national security. So even like the search function you mentioned, like if I search something related to my work, even if I don't upload any information, I don't upload any documents, it will send some signaling about what we are doing, let's say, in a national security agency at that point, right? So I can't even do that search. Even on Google, it would be problematic because you don't know who can access that. Right. So how, and also I, for example, in my work, I upskilled, I learned everything, and I have tons of data I can use, student data, documents. Like if I bring them to AI systems, even OpenAI or Cloud AI, I will get great results, but I cannot because there's privacy concerns, right? Without institutional adaptation, this doesn't work. So how do we solve this data security and individual versus institutional adaptation policy, and without creating those closed systems that government can use, where people can go safely, knowing their data is secure? Thank you.
I love this question. I think all revolutions in work have this combination of top-down, bottom-up. So you were mentioning top-down, bottom-up. I think General Eifler has described what does top-down, macro-level change look like in an institution. General Groen mentioned before, he's in the center of the largest bureaucracy in the world, trying to do some top-down. And then the bottom-up world, like your example of, I upskilled myself, I got there, but I ran into barriers, I think is how the change actually takes place, is you have people taking down barriers above you over time, maybe slow, maybe fast, maybe inspirational, maybe not. And then you are upskilling yourself, maybe good, maybe bad, maybe inspirational, maybe not. In your case, yes, I can tell, right? So I think those two things are how all revolutions happen. We used to debate this all the time in the third offset. Is this a top-down change? Is this a bottom-up change? And Boss Work used to say to us all the time, it's both. It will never work unless it's both. So I think that's the answer to the question. You need both. Without that, there's no revolution. And I think it's just like you were mentioned before, Sam. I mean, this course is, in some sense, is designed to get the bottom revolutionary, right, and start being high functioning users. Sam?
No, I think that's spot on. I mean, I think when we think about the way to drive innovation organizationally, I think there's a top-down approach that's outside of the scope of how Coursera is thinking about this. But when we do think about it, we think of the bottoms-up component as a key enabling factor that has to be present, right? You can have top-down, but without bottoms-up implementation and enablement and empowerment, the utilization might lag. And so having both, I agree with PJ completely that it's a key enabler.
And I'll just jump in to say that this course begins with the premise that a lot of these agencies that is in our target audience are not adopting these tools at scale, but you need to start from somewhere. And part of what we do, especially in Module 4, is give you the tools to be a change agent in your organization. We recognize especially that as these technologies evolve, the generation of leaders who are going to be the senior leaders of their organization over the next couple of years and decades are particularly the ones that could leverage these tools and become a change agent in their organization.
Hi, Felipe Mion. I'm with OpenAI. I lead our government go-to-market, so obviously a biased perspective on which tools to use, but love that you guys did this course. My question is a little bit, you addressed it before, but keeping up. So obviously this course is today, the pace of AI, even for someone who works with AI, is relentless, and it's constantly changing and evolving. Can you share a little more about how you plan on keeping up, and what else you're going to offer?
Should I take this one? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so the course that we're launching today is actually the start of a new initiative. We are going to be having a larger launch in June. Ylli was actually going to highlight it a little bit later at our AI Expo in June. So the idea here is this is talking about AI and national security. The obvious next step is the trajectory to AGI. So we are thinking about that as part of the course build out, as we want to give you those tools to contextualize what we're putting as well as like the trajectory of where it's going. So this is part one. Stay tuned until June. But the bigger answer to your question is we recognize this is evolving, so we are going to have to stay ahead and constantly update as we can to the best of our ability. Sam, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to double down on Nandita's point, for us as we think about this and partnering with SCSP, it very much is designed as an iterative approach, right? And I think the way that you framed it was perfect, is this is the version today, but based on user feedback, based on evolutions in the technology, we very much recognize that there will be evolutions in what this content looks like. And I think the way that it's built today lends itself to that. It's not just static content, it's content that is hands-on and application-based that can be easily tuned and adjusted to refine itself based on what a new reality might look like 6 to 12 months from now.
And I'll just throw out real quick, like 20 seconds, Felipe, that there's a module in there that's 6 minutes long. Again, be not boring. 6 minutes long that simply says, here are the mega trends that are unlikely to change so that you as a worker can surf these trends and watch it and literally give some clues on like how might you stay ahead as these things adapt. And thanks for your work at OpenAI.
I'd like to point out the 6-minute video is his. So, and it's exceptional. So I think we have our subject matter expert speaking on this.
Hi, my name is Matt McCandless. I come from what I would consider to be a fairly typical demographic in the federal workforce, which is that I come from a qualitative studies background, right? Area studies, comparative law. And so one of the additional challenges, I think, for the US government in moving to speed and adopting these new technologies is just upping their basic data acumen. So this is an amazing course. I'm sure it's going to get tremendous use and feedback, but I'm curious if you guys had a conversation about that side of the equation as well. Like learning how to drive a Lamborghini from an AI perspective is awesome, and it can be super practical in a very short period of time, but there's this other task that we're facing in terms of even providing baseline literacy on core quantitative skills. And if there's a way to link maybe your course with courses that are already on Coursera that address that, well-known industry challenge, that would be awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, I can say just from, I completely agree. There is a combination here. I think what the SCSP course does tremendously well is contextualize this topic to a very specific public sector mission or operating environment. But to your point, there's more, right? There is things that can wrap around this course that can augment the training that's being done, and that can be around data literacy, that can be basic quantitative skills, et cetera. And we see that very often when we work alongside public sector partners. Is they'll come to us and say, we want to tackle AI upskilling at scale. And as you kind of tease that out and pull the thread a bit, what you really understand is there's some things that wrap around that beyond just AI upskilling that can include data, can include other things. But it does really, what's key is it needs to start with a foundational piece of content that you can anchor to that says this is at the center of what this training program is going to look like because it's aligned with what our organization is facing. And then it gives you the liberty to kind of branch out from there to augment and amplify where you need to.
I think you might think about it as undergraduate, graduate type programs where you get interested in something, you can study more. And so this is one of those things where you data literacy, just that. Like we've really recently drafted a primer on just data as a subject because there's not an amazing primer on it that we could find. And so those primers to say like every constituent element of AI, so I actually know what I'm using, you can see that as graduate work, right? Yeah. And you just go on to this and in some sense you're just starting with like know by using, and then later you will continue to gain understanding how it works. But I think it's a great question. I also think the models are going to, especially deep research, this one I just gave you, it's doing econometrics. So what I mean is some of it goes right into your hands even if you don't understand how to do it. Nandita, if there's no question, can I ask you one?
Of course.
You were central to organizing the whole course. You thought about its design. You thought about how it should be, speakers we should have. You lined up everything. How do you feel about its release, and what's your ambition about the difference it'll make?
Oh, I'm exceptionally proud. Thank you all for coming today, and I hope this inspired you to want to take this course. I think the main thing is, and I can speak from personal experience, I was a former intelligence analyst myself, and one of the key challenges is always figuring out where to start, especially if you don't have access to these tools in your day-to-day work stream. You start believing that it's not necessary and you'll keep punting it at some point. The challenge, though, is we know that our threat landscape has changed because of AI and emerging tech. So the more that we as individuals keep punting it, we lose our advantage. We lose any advantage we have. So in order to stay competitive, we have to start embracing these tools. And this course is giving you a starting point for that by directly tying AI to national security. So you understand where that nexus is and how you can use it, even in small ways in your job, in order to understand, like, as a big picture, what could I do in the future as these technologies develop? So we really hope this is somewhere that you can start. It makes it clear for you, and more importantly, it's short, it's pithy. We hope you can finish it in less than a week so that you can then build on and take more gain access to more tools as and when you need them or what you think you need for your specific job. I think we're done with questions, and I actually do want to turn it over back to Ylli to close us out, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm not going to take long. I just want to thank again Nandita, who has done a tremendous job really in closing all of this, because there are so many moving pieces, and really launching a course which we have never done before. I want to thank our Coursera partners here, Marni and Sam and everybody else here who have been tremendous from day one in really understanding what we were going after. And today, for you, for coming, for spreading the word. This is really what we thought as a contribution we can do in a small part to help our colleagues, our former colleagues, really adopt and accelerate their work. General Eifler, thank you so much for coming again from your busy schedule. And please enjoy. I know we have a section now where we're going to demo and everything else. So have a great day. Spread the word. Take the course. If you don't know anything about AI, national security, I highly recommend it. Non-you general grown, you probably can teach 5 more courses like this. Thank you for everything, and have a great day. Thank you.